Hello you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to today's video. Today I am going to be kind of doing the deep dive when it comes to homeschool and preschool at home. This is a video request that I have gotten now for a very long time, but to be honest I just haven't made the video yet because I feel like I am just so new to all of this. I feel like I am in no position to be sharing with anyone kind of like what we are doing because we are so new, but you guys are very interested. So I am going to share just where we are currently at in the homeschool journey, what preschool has looked like, kind of what my thoughts are for kindergarten at home next fall. And I'm going to be going over things like curriculum, favorite resources, what some of our daily rhythms look like, and all of that. So let's dive on in. So one of the questions that I often get is how I got started in this when it comes to philosophy, like how I landed where I landed. I guess like in terms of how I got started, my sister homeschools, and so I've been able to see the benefit of that firsthand over the last few years and have conversations about what that looks like, the benefits of that type of lifestyle, especially for a family that lives a full life outside of school. And for us being in ministry, it's very nice to be able to have the flexibility and to teach our kids at home instead of having to rush out the door and take them to school every day. In terms of the style of homeschool that I most align with, I would say that what we do is very Charlotte Mason inspired. I have always really loved that her work and kind of philosophy around homeschooling is very much rooted in nature, but also Christianity and God being like the primary source of knowledge. There's a big emphasis on Christian education, awareness of the Bible, but also learning in nature. I also loved a lot of her philosophies around the kind of atmosphere of learning in general and not having learning be so focused to sitting at a desk and kind of something that you do and then you tap out of when you're done, but like learning being integrated into your entire life. That's kind of the background of where I am right now. Is that where we will land forever? No, but I also don't know if we will homeschool forever. So that is just kind of the honest overview of where we are today. So to make it really simple for myself, I have a few kind of core focuses of the things that I am emphasizing in this like homeschool preschool time with my kids. The first one is nature education. This is very much inspired by Charlotte Mason, and one of the books that I read by her, it was just talking about the fact that like many adults will go outside in their own backyards and they won't even be able to name the trees that they see or the types of plants that are growing native in their province or their state. And I was just like, that's actually true. And I don't want my kids to be filling themselves with so much knowledge that the natural world around them, they don't even really know what's going on. And so from a very young age, we've done a lot of things like nature walks, identifying trees and plants and leaves. And also I would say early literacy skills in reading are another huge component of what I do at home with my kids every day. We do a lot of phonics practice, recognizing letters, games around that kind of thing, early reading, early printing skills, but our days are also full to the brim with books. And I'll come back to that, but that's one of the biggest focuses for us is just reading. Next thing is early math skills. I was never strong in math and have never enjoyed it, but I feel like I'm starting to get a new appreciation for it now, teaching these early math skills to my own kids. So that is something that I incorporate. And then finally, again, Christian education is woven throughout our entire day as well. So what does a typical homeschool day in the life look like when you are teaching children that are like 2 and 3 years old? The first thing is that I don't limit what I see as like school and education to being the time that we spend at the table learning. It's kind of woven throughout our entire day. It's that like atmosphere of learning that I'm trying to create in our home. So after our kids have woken up and had some free play, when we have breakfast, that's kind of kick-starting, I would say, what feels like the homeschool day or morning. And it usually begins with us having a devotion. I'll read the kids' Bible to them. We love the Jesus Storybook Bible. I also love I think it's called the I Want to Follow Jesus Bible or I Will Follow Jesus Bible by Judah and Chelsea Smith. And I'll link all of these down in the description box. But we'll start off with a family Bible reading time and then lead into some thought-provoking questions about what we've read. And then after that, our kids are invited into open-ended play. Typically while I clean up around the house, they have the option of helping me, but otherwise they are kind of encouraged to go and play. And after free play, before we sit down to the table to kind of start our homeschooling for the day, this is where we have some more of our habit training, because I'll have my kids go and pick out their clothes for the day, get themselves dressed to the best of their ability. And my oldest daughter will also make her bed during that time to the best of her ability. And those are the things that we kind of have to have checked off to get ourselves and our home ready for the day before we sit down to the the homeschool table. So I just teach my kids at our kitchen table. I typically will light a little candle on the table to kind of signify that we're getting started. And then we will start by going over some sort of subject or topic that we are either looking at in a curriculum. Sometimes it's even just something that my kids are displaying a lot of interest in, and I'll kind of go off of that. And a lot of the time we're even just going off of what's going on with the seasons. What's the weather like outside, and translating some of that into the activities that we are doing around the table for school. I am very flexed with the timeline that this takes. I'm also very flexed on following some sort of curriculum or guideline, and I kind of go a little bit where the day takes us. But after we are done that activity or learning around a particular subject, usually I will always end the time at the table with art. So I'll ask the kids kind of what they're interested in doing that day. Sometimes I am coming in with like, here's the activity that we're all going to be doing, and showing them and then allowing them to go for it. Just kind of depends on how I feel and they feel that day. But my kids love to paint. They love to work with clay. And then after that, we try to get outside, and I love to spend hours out there with them, like as long as possible. I just like to be outside with them, and that is just free play, allowing them to explore, allowing them to get muddy and get dirty. After that, we'll usually come back inside around lunchtime, get them cleaned up, have another opportunity for free play before quiet time. Around 3 or 4 p.m., depending on the day, we follow what is kind of known as like blessing hour. It's literally just like the whole family being involved in kind of cleaning up the house and resetting before dinner time. It's kind of thought of as like, this is the hour that we are all just like blessing the house. And then after that, I feel like that kind of concludes what would be like our homeschool day. As a mom that stays home with her kids but is also educating her kids at home, sometimes it is just nice for me to find something that my kids love to play with independently, but is also adding a little bit of educational value to their quiet times throughout the day. And so we recently got a learning pad from Think Academy, and this has been such a fun tool to have in our house. This is a completely screen-free, award-winning learning tool for kids over the ages of 3 that introduces them to things like early reading, early math, phonics, problem solving, language, and more. I have never seen anything like this. It's very innovative, but you have these little sheets that are all educational type activities. And basically what you do is you slide them into the learning pad and just press the on button here, and your kid can kind of go through this interactive activity where they can touch the different elements, read, and learn through a couple of different modes. So in exploration mode, which is what my 3-year-old typically uses, you can kind of just go through at your own pace and have fun with the different activities. There is also a game mode, which allows you to do different fun quizzes and tests, and it kind of levels up in intensity, see if you're actually grasping some of the concepts. And then there is also a little hint section here. So if your child is stuck and there's something that they're just not sure of, they can just tap the little hint icon at the top of the paper, and that will give them some clues as to what the answer is. The learning pad comes with 70 different sheets that you can put into it. So like, there is honestly so much content here. There are so many different activities, all encouraging them in different skills. This whole set here is early math. There are many cards about learning to read and phonics, as well as a bunch about speaking and spelling. They even have these little sing-along pages if they just want to listen to like fun songs and nursery rhymes. But if you have a child that loves Peppa Pig, they will also be super excited that a character that they love is on some of the pages as well. This tool is designed to help your kids with things like creativity, logical thinking, hand-eye coordination. It's safe for kids. It's very durable. The pages are tear resistant, which is really nice. They're not going to be able to like easily rip through them. They are also waterproof and made from eco-friendly materials. I do also think that the price is pretty great considering how many resources and activities you're getting for your kids with it. So if you guys are interested in checking out a Think Academy learning pad for your kids, they have given me a discount code for viewers of my channel. So all you have to do is head down to the link in my description box and use the code O5LearnToy at checkout. I will put that here on the screen as well as down in the description box, so it's super easy for you guys to see and remember at checkout. But again, that code is O5LearnToy at the link in my description box. I hope that you guys love it, and thank you so much to Think Academy for working with me on today's video. So let's chat curriculum. I'm going to share with you guys a couple of the different resources that I have used, and then give you just a quick tour of what some of them look like. So the first one that I will mention that is very helpful if you are interested in this Charlotte Mason style of education, but you also just want to get started without spending money, is Ambleside Online. So this is a Christian resource designed all in line with Charlotte Mason philosophies, and there is a ton of free stuff on that website. It is amazing. You will find book lists, you will find curriculum examples, schedules, you'll find activity lists to do with kids at different ages and ranges, and you'll find that a lot of the Charlotte Mason inspired stuff is like not really formal curriculum and education until around age 6. A lot of it is still learning through atmosphere and nature play and all of these different things, which I would say is a lot of what we do here at home as well. But there is some of those other things like phonics and early math skills too. So it is a great resource to check out if you're just getting started. The next resource that I use is Treehouse Schoolhouse. I love their stuff so much. I think that in terms of like curriculum, this is the most like rich that our family has used. It is really beautifully done in the sense that the rhythms are just so like you get wrapped up in it, and it's just so fun for the kids. Like you are listening to the music that goes alongside the lessons that you're in. You're doing these activities together as a family. You are doing hand rhymes and making crafts, and it has just been like such a beautiful experience. The maker of the Treehouse Schoolhouse content has a few different types of curriculum, but what we have followed so far has just been the nature study. So it looks at the full year and covers all of the seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall, and gives you a full curriculum to follow throughout all of those seasons that would kind of take up the entire year in terms of learning. We've never gone through the summer curriculum. We've just done winter, spring, and autumn, but have loved those. And then the final resource that I have used is Peaceful Preschool. So this is what I invested in September, I think, of last year when my daughter was newly 3, and that was kind of my plan for the school year. And there's a lot of great content in there as well. I would say that it is very, very good for younger ages specifically. If your child is a little bit more advanced or a little bit more eager to learn, then some of the concepts might feel a little bit younger to you. I would find that Treehouse Schoolhouse was a better fit for my daughter in those ways, but the content in the Peaceful Preschool was really amazing for my 2.5-year-old this year. So I'm gonna give you just a quick look at what both of them look like. Okay, so this is an example of one of the Treehouse Schoolhouse teacher guides for autumn. So in this little pocket here, I just have a bunch of different printouts, but basically it comes with all of these beautiful resources. Like it includes poems, it includes hand rhymes that you can do, and that's kind of how we would start our day when using this curriculum, is with like the poem or the hand rhyme. I would also hang the pictures up that were relating to the unit that we were on, just like over here on our little peg shelf, since this is kind of the zone that we do school. But you have your week laid out for you, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you'll see that you have the hand rhyme of the day, the poem of the day, a picture study of the day. This is a really great way to introduce your kids to artists and have them just be kind of learning things that I feel like they don't really even learn in school anymore. But then this curriculum does also emphasize reading a lot, and so there are a lot of books that kind of go with this that you could purchase. We did a lot of library pickups as well. Here's an example of like a little activity of rock investigation. This unit study in apples is one of my favorite like homeschooling curriculum weeks ever. Comes with this really cute song that you guys can sing, anatomy of an apple, this hand rhyme that is so fun. My kids still remember doing it. So that is kind of what the Treehouse Schoolhouse content looks like. And then the winter one is very similar. We obviously have a lot of things happening in here right now, but very much just like nature study, again, the artist study, and just learning a lot about what's going on in the natural world based on seasons. I do also have and purchased their morning time bundle. So this is Treehouse Schoolhouse as well. I printed these off double-sided and then slid them into restaurant menus, which makes them really nice, handy, dry erase books. So often while I'm pulling out all of my homeschool resources, I would lay these out for the kids on the table with a dry erase marker, and then they would kind of go through and check off like what the weather looked like today, the season that we were in, what their name was, like how they're feeling during the day. It's very reminiscent of like a circle morning time kind of thing. So our kids love those. And then over here is what the Peaceful Preschool content looks like. So very similar in the sense that there's little activities, like here's how to make a bottle bird feeder with the kids. And here I'm just like storing all of our flashcards and things from throughout the year, but you've got homemade Play-Doh recipe. And basically what is printed off in here is all of the different resources that go along with the lessons for Peaceful Preschool. And this book here is the actual teacher guide. So very similar to Treehouse Schoolhouse. It's also kind of laid out by day. You have something to read aloud that day, a phonics activity, counting skills, fine motor skills, large motor skills, and practical life and art. I really liked that this one was a little bit more, I don't want to say educational, but the fact that it like prompted me to do like phonics and counting and all of that. I found that that was the only thing kind of missing from this curriculum, is that it was very much like nature study and literary and rich in that sense. But then this one, it kind of filled in a little bit of those gaps, but then lacked almost some of the richness from this one. So do with that what you will. I think that you can kind of pick and choose, and that's kind of what I have done, is just based on how we are feeling, choosing what I want from each curriculum. But basically every time it is time to do homeschool, I will light my candle. I will take our little rotating supplies out. We've got glue in here, paint brushes, markers, and this is like my big resource basket when it comes to art and things like that. So I'll often just pull that out as well. And then in terms of other resources, I have really loved the Dolce Lara banners. I'll show you what the other ones in our playroom look like in just a second here, but these come with little interchangeable cards that you can go through with your kids and do kind of like, again, a very morning time, circle time inspired moment. I will say that we don't do this every day anymore, although I did do this pretty well consistently almost every day when my daughter was around 2 to age 3. I found that it was just a really good foundation to get started with in terms of like the days of the week, the months, the seasons, shapes, colors, like you're really covering it all at a glance with this resource. And then this is our playroom, which I would say is also a huge part of what like homeschooling looks like with them every day. Over here, I've pulled out a bunch of homeschooling resources that I want to show you. So I don't usually have all of that out there, but down here we have some awesome books. I have like the full kitchen setup over here and some cleaning tools. The functional mop is amazing. My kids really love being able to use that. Over here is the shelf that I rotate out pretty frequently, although some of the things that are out here right now have been out a while because they just use them constantly. Things like little peg people that they're always finding new ways to play with. We've got play silks in here, some magnet tiles that always stay out, a little pretend play doctor set from KiwiCo, toy cars, this really cute puzzle with animals on it, Duplo, and then here are more of the Dolce Lara banners that we always have hanging up, and I just love the way that they kind of make this feel a little bit more like a classroom. In this back corner, we have some train play. This is also a KiwiCo set, and then I have a couple of just like add-on pieces, and then this little balance board. I have laid out some of my favorite resources when it comes to like reading and writing and all of that fun stuff. And when it comes to reading and writing specifically, I feel like the biggest thing in that is definitely reading to your kids and like the quality of the books that you are reading, how often you are reading throughout the day. When it comes to the types of books that we have in our house, a lot of what you will find here are what are called living books. And I think this might be a Charlotte Mason definition. I don't know where this came from, but it's basically books that are just very rich in content. They are written by an author that is passionate about them. They're just rich literary experiences. And I feel like a lot of the books that you would find in kids' stores and in libraries nowadays, I would not describe as like rich literary experiences. Like we have come a long way from Milne and like Winnie the Pooh and Wind in the Willows to some of the books that are available today now. Children's books are just like, I know that there are still so many incredible authors out there now, but the, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the threshold in terms of like what is quality has seemingly decreased a little bit. And so in our house, I'm doing my best to try and keep the exposure to good classic storytelling, but there are also a lot of great books that are newer. When it comes to teaching my kids letter recognition and phonics, this is one of my favorite resources. These are sandpaper letters, and this is a Montessori style of teaching where basically you have your kids kind of feel the sandpaper, and it's kind of like a tactile way for them to learn and a very, very early kind of process of beginning to write and actually being able to form those letters. But I use these almost as like flashcards with my kids. One of the most important things to remember when it comes to teaching kids, I think, as someone that is not a professional at this in any way, is making it fun and making it play-based, because at the end of the day, that is the most impactful way for children, in my opinion, to learn, is by playing. Little things like these puzzles that we have where you match up the letter with the sound that it makes on the picture. This is a Melissa and Doug puzzle that we really like. And then when my oldest started to get a little bit more comfortable with phonics and the sounds that everything made, we got into blending. So resources for that. I really love anything that prioritizes CVC words and CVC reading. CVC is basically when you just have like consonant, vowel, consonant. So you have your vowel in the middle and you can kind of rotate and test out sounding out different words. This is a great next step for a child that does have all of their letter sounds down. So we have a number of these little rotating CVC tools. And then the tool that I feel like has been the most helpful in pronouncing words for my daughter and that she's been most interested in is this little CVC words spelling game that we have. So it comes with all of these different letters, and the vowels are red, and then these little 3 like wooden blocks. And then it also does have these little flashcards. So it shows a picture of what the words are and then the actual word itself, if you wanted to use something like that to assist them in either pronunciation or identifying a word. But But basically, you can either make a combination of letters and sound out what the word is phonetically. The last kind of like reading and writing tool that we have is a Montessori sand tray. This is a really great way to get into the movements and the fine motor skills behind writing before you actually give your kids like a booklet. With this tool, you actually pour a very fine sand into the wooden tray, and you can either put a little card up at the top or just leave it. And there's two options. You can either use a little wooden pencil to write it out, which is a little bit more advanced, or have them use their finger, which is what I do for my kids after we advance from the sandpaper letters. So kind of start with this. And then the final learn to read resource that I have is this CVC Words storybook. So my daughter is now 3 years old. She'll be 4 in a couple of months, but she is able to read many, I won't say all, but many CVC words independently. But I found that she achieved this milestone and was able to read on her own, and I was so proud. She was so excited. But then when you sit down with your kids to read a book, like there's not a whole lot of books that are just full of CVC words and words that they can read. And that was a little bit discouraging. So I wanted her to be able to stay excited and to feel like she could pick up a book and read it. And that's why I found this CVC words book for her. I just researched books that basically had primarily CVC words and found this one. So for example, this one starts off with a story called The Cat Sat, and the focus CVC words are cat and sat. So like the story goes like this: the cat sat here. And it basically is just like repeating a lot of these same words, but my daughter can go through and read that story and feels so proud of herself for doing it. It kind of increases in complexity throughout the book, but this one is like, my pet is at the vet pats my pet ran from the vet likes my pet. And so it is just a cool resource if your kid can read CVC words now and you want to help them to feel more confident in that. When it comes to teaching math, I generally start with like really simple puzzles, shape recognition, and then from there we've kind of advanced into more complicated shape recognition being the next stage. So I've really loved this little Melissa and Doug shape organizing puzzle where you kind of take the different shapes and fit them in. Our kids have really enjoyed this, and it's a great way to kind of practice what each of these different shapes are, the names of them, all of that fun stuff. It's very much like self-directed as well. And then getting a little bit more advanced, this has been my next like favorite resource for teaching math and early addition and subtraction. These little linking cubes are amazing. And this little game note set that we have, I actually got this from a friend. I'll see if I can find a link to it. It's got like a few different ways that you can wrap your head around the number. First one being that you can actually build it out. So I think this is what we did here the last time that we were playing with it. You can actually build the number out, then you can kind of do like, see how many you need to stack between the two of these to add up to 3. So you can do 2 blocks here and 1 block there. You can practice actually writing the number. And then on the back of all of the cards, it has different variations of addition and subtraction around that number. So just kind of builds with each number. And these obviously get more and more complicated, like the more complex numbers you're working with. We haven't really graduated past addition and subtraction up to like number 5 yet. I would say that we're still very much like operating with these first few cards, but this is a great way to have your child kind of add up. Like, let's take 2 of the purple blocks and then 1 of the white blocks, and we've got 3 altogether. Then the last kind of math concept that I'm currently working on teaching our kids is the concept of subitizing. Subitizing is a concept that I've just recently learned about. When a child looks at each of these cards, they should be able to quickly recognize that all of these represent 2. And the goal is to get to a point where you can look at these things and you don't actually have to physically count anymore, but you look at them and you just think, oh, 2. And it's a different version each time, and these cards increase in complexity. Like by the time that you get up to like 8 or 9 on here, it's looking a little bit more complicated, but the goal is that you can look at that visual representation and be able to tell pretty soon after what the number is. So the fun thing about this game is that it's got a bunch of different ways that you can actually practice this. You can play matching games, you can have games with different players where you're actually shelling out cards to each other and like having a little activity that you go through. So we are brand new to this kit, but I think that this is a great resource for teaching this kind of concept if this is something that you are looking to introduce to your child as well. Another little math resource that we love is this one here. It comes with a bunch of little different blue and red pegs and then the numbers as well. Basically for this one, it's great for number recognition and counting, but I find that you can also use it for like addition and subtraction if you use the different colors as well. You could start by placing the number and then having your child actually go onto the board and place the number of corresponding pegs for that number. You could also reverse it if you want to put the number there and then have have your child count and actually put the corresponding number down afterwards. Or like I was saying, if you wanted to do addition, you could place that number there and then have your child basically find out how many are missing to actually get to the number that is needed there. Some other notable mentions are the Julia Rothman collection. This is just an incredible book set that comes with books called The Farm Anatomy, The Food Anatomy, and then Nature Anatomy. First of all, the illustrations are stunning, but then as a resource, there's so many just incredible things in here, and we discovered these through the Treehouse Schoolhouse Nature Study because it actually references these books quite often. And then I also reference this book very often, the Slow Down book by Rachel Williams. There's so many beautiful illustrations in it, and it kind of maps out some of these different things that happen in nature around us, but we just miss oftentimes, and that's kind of the whole book, is slowing down to recognize all of that. I also want to shout out one of my subscribers that sent us the most beautiful alphabet cards and also number cards. I've used these a number of times as well, especially if we're doing like a letter study or something like that, because a lot of the Peaceful Preschool has letter study content in it, and it's just fun to have like P's for pumpkin and things like that. And for counting, the illustrations on here are just stunning, like really nice watercolor prints. So I will put a link to all of her homeschool resources down in the description box as well. KiwiCo crates are also huge for us here, especially the Sprout crates now that my daughter is in that club over the age of 3. The activities that are in there have inspired so many different types of play for our family and different interests. Like when my daughter got their space crate a couple of months ago, we did like a full space week about that because it just kind of unlocked this interest in space that we started watching videos about space and looking for content about space in the books that we already had and reading about space at the library. So we really loved the Sprout crates. And honestly, that is something that I do very often, is kind of cherry picking curriculum, so to speak, and cherry picking what we are going to learn and talk about based on interest and what is going on in life in general. So the space week was kind of just an example of when I just freestyled it. As much as I love curriculum as a guide, I get questions a lot about like what curriculum we use and if we love it. And it's like, we do love having the option for it, but I also do really like being able to just go with wherever our interests are taking us. Another huge part of daily learning for our kids is just the responsibility that we give them within the home. So things like emptying the dishwasher, putting their cups and their bowls in the sink when they're done eating, helping to fold the laundry, making the bed, helping with gardening, all these different things I think sometimes we can forget are also really great learning opportunities for our child. And if you are a parent that's wanting to homeschool, but you're like, I feel like we're only doing a little bit of time at the table and then the rest of the day looks like this, that is okay. Especially when your kids are the age of like 3 or 4 years old and you're looking at educating a child in that stage of life. Like, you just have to remember that so much of what you are doing at home with them is the best type of education that they can receive, and that their main priority in this stage of life is play. Well, you guys, that is it for resources that I use for homeschool around here and all of what it looks like for us right now. Again, I am so new to all of this and I'm excited to kind of learn along the way. I have no idea how long I will be doing this for. We very much take it year by year and where we feel like God is leading us in our family, but I'm definitely very excited for the fall and being able to kind of go through another full year of homeschooling with my kids. So that is all. I hope that it was helpful for you. If you have any other questions for me around our homeschooling journey, resources, whatever, anything that I didn't answer in this video, feel free to comment that down below and I'll do my best to get back to all of those. Also, if there are any resources that you have used in your home and are watching this and are like, you would love this thing, feel free to drop that down in the comment section. I would love to read through all of those and just get a better idea too of what we want to do in our home next fall as we look to kind of plan for that too. So thank you so much again for watching this video, and until my next video, I love you guys, I'm praying for you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.